police, because you have such a background there. And, I've spent 20 years in this country. So, and I'm a citizen, and I'm going to be buried in this city. I love it here. I love London. It's part of my DNA. My children were born here. But I also grew up in a different country where they police differently. So when I look at the Metropolitan Police, I see differences. And I still remember when I was 21 years old, I moved to New York City in 1993. And Mayor Giuliani had kind of just got there. And there was a police officer on every corner. And New York scared the hell out of me, to be honest. I mean, I was a kid from San Diego, California, and I felt so good seeing those police officers there. I felt like I could walk around that city. And the NYPD officer has a certain vibe to them. They have a certain look, a certain build, a certain demeanor for that city. And it definitely promoted me feeling good. And in London, it's a different feel. It is now versus when I got here, maybe for when you were on the force. And I was wondering if you could tell me, first of all, what do you think is the state of Metropolitan Police? Is the vibe always going to be different in a city like London because you police a community and it depends on the community? And how has the police service changed over the years? I know it's a lot of questions. But...
Yeah, but let's just go back to New York, 93, if we may, because you had Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, as you've mentioned, and I think the police chief was Bill Bratton at the time.
Sounds familiar.
And they were both disciples of the fixing broken windows philosophy, which essentially said, if you deal with the low-level crime, quite literally the broken windows, or in New York's case at the time, it was the people that stood at traffic lights with a spongy cleaning your windscreen, and then almost in an intimidating kind of way, putting their hand out and wanting a few cents or $1 or whatever. And they clamped down on that first.
Right, zero tolerance, they called it.
Yeah, but it did have a title of fixing broken windows, and there were books written about it, and it kind of became a bit of a thing. Now, it proved to be, at that time, and we're talking about, many decades ago, it was seen as being a rip-roaring success. And there were many people that wanted to import it into the UK, because we also had our spongy people at traffic lights and what have you. What happens in the States, we so often import a few years later. But was it kind of sustainable? It was for New York, because they simply had the numbers of officers to be able to do that. Now, to do that policing, as you've said, you need quite literally a police officer on every street corner. And in the UK, whether it be London or Manchester or Glasgow, that quite simply is not going to happen. So if we fast forward to where we're at now, we are on the back of a decade or more of austerity. The government policy to slash and burn public spending in every aspect. And policing suffered more than most, I would suggest. The 20,000 police officer jobs were just butchered in the UK. 30,000 or more back office jobs, so civilian workers that did vital roles behind the scenes, those jobs got lost. And quite simply, you cannot slash those kind of police and police staff numbers and not expect there to be some kind of repercussion. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister at the time, Theresa May, who quite simply did not understand modern policing, drove this home. She had the temerity to accuse the police of crying wolf when officers were saying, you keep cutting numbers, there's going to be repercussions. So we've kind of found ourselves in a situation whereby the police are chronically understaffed, underfunded, overworked, and demoralised. The current Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, loves a soundbite and said, I'm going to recruit 20,000 police officers, which sounds like a great headline, but it doesn't really cut to the core of the problem, because all those 20,000 officer jobs that were cut took thousands upon thousands of years of policing experience with them. And policing experience cannot be bought. It's vital. It's absolutely crucial. And now, whilst there is a recruitment drive going on to try and build those numbers up. You don't need 20,000. You need 40 or maybe 50,000 actually, because the police are still hemorrhaging officers in frighteningly high numbers because they are overworked, underpaid and demoralised. So consequently, policing in the UK, sadly, still remains largely in crisis.